Hi, everyone. We're Among the Realms and we're with Dana. We're doing a Zoom. We have a big snowstorm coming. Mark is actually on his way to, a work trip to try to beat the storm. So we decided to do an episode tonight on a very scary investigation we had years ago with our group. And we had a few requests for us to talk about what our scariest one was. And we agreed because Dana and I were part of that, and it was amazing. This video, we'll be able to share some actual clips of it, and like some of the other, there was another investigator there as well, so we can share some of that commentary too. So, oh, on another note, since we weren't here last week because of the flu and snow, it's been like a week or two. So it's a good one to come back with. So basically, this investigation was in a very haunted place, the town in New Jersey, and it was a house that was pretty secluded, and it was all the way at the end of a dirt road. There was water around it. It was creepy when you were driving to it to start with. And we had done many investigations in that town before, and there were a lot of, um, you know, houses that were haunted, had a lot of activity. We documented a lot. I don't think we ever didn't get, uh, we talked about it in one of the
Mhm.
interviews. We barely ever, if ever, no, I don't think we ever did. We never not had some type of evidence after we
No.
had an investigation
Uh-huh.
of some sort.
Never,
Yeah.
never.
Mhm. And this one in particular, they reached out to us because their 5-year-old daughter was having a hard time sleeping in her bed. Her bedroom was the attic. And when, aside from not wanting to sleep in her bed, they would hear her talking to herself, they thought, and to her dollhouse. So they wanted to know what was going on. She kept talking about somebody that she was talking to, and they couldn't see them. And then she just would never sleep in her room or she'd get too afraid to. So that's what we were called in for. And we started out in the attic.
Well, may I make
And,
a interrupt here? By the time we got there, they were half moved out already
oh yeah,
because
that's true.
they could not stand it anymore because this entity was actually attacking all of them when it came right down to it. And
Mhm.
they
Yeah,
had to move. They had to, for their daughter's sake, they had to get out of there. So they had
yeah,
already moved a lot of the stuff out.
This is something
yes,
that they've
yes.
experienced their entire time living there?
Well, they were renters,
Okay.
and we actually went there twice. The
Yeah.
first time they called us, we solely did the investigation on mainly on not the dollhouse, the her bedroom, and it was in there, but it wasn't. We weren't like talking specifically to the dollhouse because at that time they wanted to see what anything we could pick up in there.
Well,
So
that was the
we
attic mostly, right?
yes, we did
They,
mostly the attic, and then there were like another few other places that some of our other investigators did, but since we solely focused on that, we were letting them know, like, yes, there was something very negative and heavy in that room. We had our team split up into more than one group so that we did get a validation of evidence that no matter which team went in there, they were all getting the same information that it was a negative, difficult spirit. And so the first interaction that happened was it pushed it was aggressive, so it pushed me off the chair, and that was the one thing at that time it did. But that's it. That's all it did. And I was used to being like kind of moved by spirits, just because it, I've explained before. When I started doing that, it was more me block. Like I'm not letting them like jump inside of me or channel me or anything, or like they're trying to be able to talk. And when I'm pushing back, it ends up where we're like going like this, so like I end up moving. So but it was heavy. It was a heavy spirit, and we let them know that. And so they did get their confirmation that yes, their daughter was telling the truth, and there was something in that attic, and
Was
it
there
didn't want us there.
was there communication with the spirit the first time?
Oh yeah.
Like when, why was there? Was he, or
It
what?
was basically what was coming through
Was he
was
describing anything about himself or
no,
what his
because
issue is?
what was going on with this spirit is, first of all, it didn't want us there. And we knew just from us doing this work for years that spirits tend to go to a child, gain their trust, and then, that's how they get in there or get what they want. So, and that's what it was doing. It was talking to the little girl, but the little girl, after a while, was like, wait a second. She knew this spirit didn't feel good. He was heavy. And, and then when she was going down and telling her parents, I don't want to sleep up there, then it was getting more people involved. That spirit didn't like anybody that lived in that house. And it kept trying to like,
Intimidate?
yeah,
It seems
basically
like.
like bully.
Yeah.
Well, was it he liked the little girl because she actually talked back to him
Yes.
because he
Well, it's
wanted to.
funny because, like,
Yes.
sometimes in even cartoon movies, like in Monsters Inc., when the baby girl is supposed to be terrified of this monster, but she sees like a friend, a
Hmm.
big.
Yeah.
This spirit probably wasn't
But he
around.
actually was a big
A
cuddly.
little girl friend.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that first time we gathered all that evidence, we let them know, yes, there was some heavy stuff here. They at that time were tossing around, that, whether they should stay or not. And then it wasn't that long that after we had finished that they called us right back and they were like, listen, we're leaving the dollhouse in the basement. We're not taking that thing with us. And we were like, okay. And they're like, yeah, that thing's like the demon or something or whatever. Like that guy was like, there's no way that's coming with us. We're moving. We're just picking up our stuff. They didn't even take all their stuff. They literally just left that house so fast. And so he was like, listen, we're leaving. And if you want to come in, do this just to see if you can get anything more specifically what it
Yeah.
is, you're welcome to come.
But didn't the spirit like push both the husband and the wife?
Well, what happened was the spirit, they had more interaction where they knew there was something there. Like they always knew something was there because things would happen, but they didn't
Right.
have it where it was so strong that they were, you can feel uncomfortable, but you're not like scared. So, like, I mean, the whole family by that time, after, and it's also we were brought in, so they knew that those spirits knew, okay, like they're on to us, basically. And we let them know that though, like this could make it worse, or, they could, go off on their own and leave you guys alone. And it did. It normally it would settle down because the spirits, finally being able to make contact and, people figure out why they're there. But in this case, this one was so disgruntled and so heavy.
And when you went back the second time, now you knew the spirit was still there. It didn't
Oh
attack.
yeah, because that's why he put the dollhouse down there. He
Yeah,
said
there was
So
a
you
big
were
group.
able to pinpoint the first time that it was in fact the dollhouse that the spirit
one of
was
the he was in the whole bedroom upstairs.
Okay, but that was like the thing that really
Yeah.
the fast
Yeah, and there was a lot of us there. That was a big group of people that went on that hunt.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It was like we had three, maybe at least 9 or 10 people, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we
And
had
everybody
groups.
was going through it, like each team would take a little bit of a length of time in there just to see if anybody would get something different or to validate what others were
Yeah.
getting. And everybody got the same info. And it was some really strange stuff because at one point there, uh we weren't in the same group that we were in the basement, and we had some other investigators with us. And there was a point where it was like you were hearing your voices on feedback, like you could hear yourself talking back to you and nobody could figure out where it was coming from. Like some really weird things were happening in that house. I don't think
Mm.
any one of us felt comfortable. Everybody had a heavy feeling. Everybody knew that the spirits that were there were very negative. And so we were excited to come back just because we felt like we were going to get like almost like have some closure with it, of maybe a little bit more in detail. And it was a smaller group, I think, that went back
Yeah.
the second time. And we didn't know at the time that he was leaving though. We got when we pulled in, they're like, yeah, we're the
Yeah, that's right. They were saying, okay, bye. It's like,
yeah.
it's all
And they drove
yours.
away. They just left us there. They're like, lock up when you're done. We're done here. Oh my God. We were like, oh, that must be bad. So we did take turns in certain areas, but when he said the dollhouse was in the basement, of course, we went into the basement first. And
Well,
right, I think we were first in there, or were we
yeah,
not?
there were three of us, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And
Because
yeah,
there were two of us with IR cameras. I had one, and the other guy had one, and he was off to the side. And you sort of decided if the dollhouse was sitting in the back of the basement. You moved up toward the front of the pallet, I think, and sat down on the pallet to talk to it
mhm,
because that's where this thing was existing.
yeah,
And so it's pitch black in there. I mean, if you're looking through the IR lens like this, you see this grainy gray footage, which you can see. We have footage of that. Probably you probably got that up on YouTube, uh,
yeah,
and it's like, and you can see orbs going up and down in front of the column there. Where I'm standing. I'm about 6 feet away from you. I'm that close.
yeah,
Shooting.
yeah. You were far. You
Yeah,
were
with
right
my.
behind the dollhouse, right? The
Or
dollhouse.
I was right in front of it. You're sitting behind it, and I'm right in front of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's when you sit down and decide to do your thing. It's like,
yeah, yeah. Well, and the thing is, from your perspective, like we have different um I guess we'll say not I don't want to say memories, but our recollection of it, of where each of us was, because you were videotaping,
right.
I was in my zone, just you know trying to communicate with it. So like what you saw is different from what I thought was happening at the time. I remember
Really?
when I talked about that.
Well, I mean, you couldn't see anything really. It was in the dark.
No, I could only see the dollhouse. I saw the dollhouse because it was right in front
And
of
you
me.
you
It
you
had the
probably
creepy
saw
little
a
eyes on it.
glow. You saw a glow from the camera, but
Yes,
you could. That's all you couldn't see. I mean, you
anything around it.
could
Yeah.
you even see the dollhouse?
Yeah, because right in front of the dollhouse, and yeah,
Oh,
it was
it is.
probably just our lights,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
our the IR,
yeah.
and but the dollhouse had those creepy eyeballs,
I know.
yeah.
It did. It was creepy.
Like a pink dollhouse with creepy eyes, you know, and so it was only the us trying to explain what happened at the end, you know, we weren't in any shape to do that, but basically what happened was they're videoing from two different angles. One's in front, one's on the side, and I just started talking to like my normal thing,
Mm-hmm.
asking like, who they are, like why are they using the why are you attached to the dollhouse? I brought up, the little girl and all this other stuff. And what I used to do when this happened was the more I opened my energy up to communicate with the spirit, the more I was able to, let them in to get as much information as I could. That is the last time I ever did that because
You knew
kicked
that it
my
was
ass.
wrong when you were doing it. You
Mhm.
you know?
Yes, you said that. So, like, what I would do is, like, I will get in the zone and I will open up my energy as opposed to, like, how sometimes we're blocked or we guard our energy. Like, I would basically say, okay, I'm going to open myself up so you can um, come in to communicate. Because with a spirit and a medium has to raise their vibration and the spirit brings their sound, right? So we meet somewhere. Now, with these kinds of energies, whether they're earthbound or some could be just spirits that can go back and forth, but in this case this was an energy we don't normally prefer to investigate
That's right.
because they were more on the, if you want to call it, more of like a super negative demonic or however you want to word it. We were a group that chose not to work with those types, and then we had friends and other people in the field that would do specifically those kinds of things. We've done a lot with super negative spirits, but this one in particular was the by far the strongest, scariest, and most aggressive and
Mm.
Mm.
forceful. So when I was doing that, I kept getting a feeling like maybe I shouldn't say that with this one. I mean, I kept getting this odd feeling, and the way they ran out terrified. You know, it was like when you watch the movie The Amityville Horror, where they're just like piling into the cars and they can't wait to get out. And Dana reminded me that I had been saying that the whole time. That I don't always remember that stuff. That I
Mm.
was saying like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, you said what I had been. That I was saying. I don't think I should be doing this.
Yeah.
And then so that's what I was doing. And then I just kept like, okay, well, I knew it was there, but it wasn't responding. It was like it was waiting to pounce.
Yeah, it's
I
like
kept waiting to
it
pounce on the
kind of
mouse.
almost felt what you were about to do. It was waiting for you to open up so it could
Yeah,
make it
it's
move.
exactly what it was
Because if it
doing.
has a chance to speak through you or channel through you, it's gonna try.
Mhm.
Because right now, who knows what's in the spirit's mind besides you when in the moment. But in that moment, it sounds like it's just he just wanted to hit and run,
Yeah.
scare the crap
And they
out of
didn't want
you,
us there.
and aggravate and get you out. He is,
One of the
he's
things that I
claiming that's
found,
his still, right?
well, when I was tuning in, one of the things that that I was receiving was it was really, really mad that they left and that they took the little girl,
Mm,
and that now he didn't have his,
mm.
you know,
He didn't, yeah, he didn't have anybody to talk to.
He
Yeah.
didn't communicate with.
yes,
But if
and
you want the little girl to stay, I don't understand why you'd push the family out that much. So
well,
if it
because
kept haunting them, I'm going to say it,
at some point they have to like when it's like that, there's always an agenda.
just to get like an
you
idea
know,
of what's going on with the spirit too.
yeah, and they try to you know uh gain the trust and get them to communicate and then feel comfortable with them, and then that usually makes the people more vulnerable, and then they wreak havoc. That's like and
Mm,
whenever we've taught the class about those type, that's part of their thing. The more they um dominate, the stronger they are, the more control they have, that type of thing. And when the little girl, you know luckily, because not every 5-year-old is going to be like, this doesn't feel right. They're just talking to this person, because they're more in tune also with the other
yeah,
side. They didn't block it off
yeah,
yet.
the youngers.
But
Yeah.
when the parents started becoming more aware that she wasn't able to sleep, and lots of kids don't want to sleep in their bed or in their room. It took a while, because I remember they were telling us, it was a couple months before they finally were like, okay, wait a second, maybe there's something more here. And they didn't think it was just a regular child not being able to sleep in their bed.
Mhm.
But so I'm down there, I'm opening myself up, and a little bit had gone by, and we are like, okay, well, it's not it's not talking to us. This dollhouse is jammed in a corner because they're terrified of it, but it's not even talking to us. Now we'd already been there before, so we knew it was familiar with us. And then I didn't even get it out. You're getting to that point where you're like, you
Yeah.
let your guard down even more. That's exactly, you could see it. I'm like, okay,
Mm,
well, can
so
you just tell me what what you're doing in the dollhouse, or why you're? I didn't even have it out of my mouth, and I just remember it was so fast. The only thing I can remember was it would be like a board, like complete, like if something fell on you and you didn't expect it, and it completely flattened you, so that it was so heavy you couldn't breathe. And maybe there's 15 bears sitting on top of the board
mm,
while the board's
yeah.
laying on you. I couldn't get any air out. I could barely squeak. I remember saying, get it off me, squeaking, get it off me, but I was really having a hard time breathing. I remember I could feel the heaviness of it and the dark energy, and it was it was horrible. Like I could feel the thing itself, the type of energy it was. And in the moment, because you're like in shock, you're taken by surprise, in that moment, I immediately was like, after I realized, okay, you need to get out of here. You need to get up. You need to breathe. I called in everybody upstairs. I called in my parents who passed. I called in God, Jesus, the angels, every single thing. And as soon as I got to where I was getting, you know, into calling in all the higher beings, and I knew that because I do a lot of work with Archangel Michael, and you know, we always do that protection,
Mm.
prayer with him specifically. And then all of a sudden, it was like this whoosh, like it was like, and it like completely flew. And I just remember being like, but in the moment, I was so
It
like,
was like a bowling ball or a cannon had shot you back. All of a sudden, you
it
see,
was so fast,
and
and
it
I hit my
was,
head on the pallet. I do
it,
remember that.
yeah, it was so fast. It was the most shocking thing I've ever seen, you know? And it's like 1 minute you're there talking, all of a sudden you're just whap.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
I
it was,
do remember, I thought, because I remember talking about this when we were interviewed. I remembered I thought like I was just like sprawled out.
oh yeah,
Like,
you said that,
'cause I
but when
couldn't feel anything from like my waist down, nothing. And when I'm looking at the footage, I'm like, oh, like I had a leg up, I had, I one leg. I'm like, oh, that's not what it felt like because I was so compressed. That's the only way I can explain it.
yeah,
And I remembered hitting my head, and I hit it really hard because
you
the
hit it really
force
hard.
was
Yeah.
crazy. It was like something rolled over me and then like put a like a like if you have a weighted blanket, if you picture it like being completely smushed around your entire head down to your body with all of that weight on top of it.
Mm.
And then I remember hearing in the distance, like, you guys, like I remember hearing Calamity basically, but then I remembered my arms were, I was saying, get it off me. I remember my arms, like you guys are trying to pull me up. Man, I wasn't budging. I wasn't budging. And the other investigator, he's a big dude. He
He's a
even said
dude.
that he should have been able to like for sure pull me up, but you guys were, that would be your part of the, you know.
Yeah, well, I couldn't, I had to drop the camera at that point, and I said, it's like, do you save who you're photographing or you go help them,
I know. I need the footage.
Yeah. So it was like, I had to put it down because it was too scary and you needed help,
Yeah. Yeah. And they couldn't get, it was a few minutes.
Yeah.
They couldn't pull me up. And and then I remember they both got like under me, like they were literally, and then but when they were doing that was when I was calling in
Yeah.
everybody, and that's what happened. All of a sudden I felt this like freedom and
Mm.
whoosh, and then they, were able to pull me right up. And
Yeah, and it's worth taking a look at this footage. I mean, you're going to put a link to that footage up, right? And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
and it's like it's worth taking a look because you just have to. It's a couple minutes long, and you're going along and you're going along and just wait. And I swear to God, it'll be the most shocking thing you've ever seen on a ghost hunt like this.
yeah.
Would you like to play with the dollhouses?
That you?
Can you tell us what you were using the dollhouse for? Oh, get off me, get off me! I can't. Wait.
Because all of us had a different, you know,
We were from a
experience.
different angle. You were in the front,
Yeah,
he's on the side, and I'm directly in front of you.
yeah,
And it's like it just like I said, I've been on quite a number of ghost hunts, but this is by far the most shocking thing I've ever seen.
yeah.
And
Well,
I've
you
seen
are also part of it. Like, and you can't make it up. And I think that's one of the things we were talking about. Like, a lot of people think, sure, maybe there are groups that make up stuff and things like that. We've never done that. And all we want to do is, help people, and or the spirit that's, stuck here that needs to, move over, or just to let people know, like, hey, here, this is what's with you. You don't need to be afraid, or
Yeah.
help the spirit cross over. And, a lot of people think, there that can't be real. And
Yeah.
unless you're in front of your eyes or you're experiencing it, I never not believed, obviously, we do this work, that that could happen to somebody, but we were not a group that put ourselves normally in that position either.
Right.
But
So,
the line.
Yeah. You know
yeah,
what?
and I share this story not just because it was scary, but I feel like it's one that is a teaching one as well,
It's a
because
lesson. Yeah.
I no longer and will ever do that again. And I think that ones who do that, like, yeah, but you're taking your chances with it. Number one. But number two, this is what I teach people. You need to listen to your intuition. You need to
Mhm.
listen to your gut. It doesn't matter whether you want to help somebody, because if you're sacrificing, your own, like,
They're trading one for the
well-being.
other.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily even the it's like you just push it one little
That's all
point
I
too
needed.
much. And that's all he needed. And
Yeah.
I always now, make sure I have my my boundary, and as we all should with things. But I it's a great teaching moment, because I teach people not to be, just impulsive with stuff like
It
that. It is real. This stuff is real.
is
And
real.
yeah, and spirits on that side are real, and it's
But you
just
know what? My favorite spirit is one that I didn't even know was a spirit. I thought it was real. Remember the cat? Remember the cat in your place?
Oh yeah.
And I was there, and I saw this cat go underneath the tablecloth. I said, "Jackie, I didn't know you had a cat. Where's the cat?"
Yeah,
And I go over and
those
look
are the
under the
best
table, and there's
spirits.
nothing there. You said, "Oh, that's the ghost cat." I said,
Yep,
"What?" I said,
yep.
I said
Those are the best spirits. It's I think that,
But we've had a lot of fun doing it besides this.
yeah.
I mean, this was a rough one, but we do have a lot of fun doing it because you sometimes meet people who need your help, really. They do really need
Oh,
your
that was an important one, I think, too,
Yeah.
because once they did get, confirmation that their daughter was actually speaking, that they didn't hesitate. And, I think that that's a great thing, because you don't know what's going to go on from there. And the fact that it was a more aggressive one too.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
what people don't realize, what can happen to you if you aren't careful, if you don't know
Well, they're gonna go
how
to your
to
weak spots.
how to communicate. And
As a human too, your weak spots.
well, yeah, and at that point, that spirit knew I would be vulnerable. And you know what? I ended up with a concussion. I was messed up for almost a week after. For
I
three
know
full
you
days,
you
I
were.
was like, because it happened on a Saturday, and I remember for 3 full days, I just felt like I was just such a mess. And let's look at us. We're talking about so many years later, as if it was yesterday, by the way, because it had such an impact.
It had such an impact. Well, I'll never forget it as long as I live, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the last anybody ever heard of it, right? After this last investigation, there was no following up and new homeowners or
No, because
like if somebody were to buy the house and throw the dollhouse in the garbage, that spirit would still linger. Now you think?
well, that's the
Like
thing.
what happens?
They were
When,
renters.
what happens when that's removed from the property? Does the spirit decide to stay with the item? Could it
Oh
kind
yeah.
of do
So
Was
both?
if
was did the owner know about that the house was haunted?
Yeah, the actual owner himself.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, the renters, let the owner know, like, hey, there's something in this house, and the the thing is with if a spirit attached itself to a dollhouse, and that's the object it chose, right? No matter where that dollhouse is going, unless that spirit wants to leave it, it's
Yeah.
going to whoever ends up with it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The other thing is, though, if the spirit decides, like, hey, I don't want to stay in this house anymore. I'm gonna,
Well,
you know,
if the spirit is conscious enough, like to understand what it's doing, they obviously do.
yeah.
Attaching to a child's toy is the best way to get to a child.
Well, because they're the most vulnerable to get
They are.
strength
They're
it's the
The purity probably strengthens them.
well, they're looking to get strength and strengthen numbers and click because a lot of times when we're
Yeah.
investigating
Yeah.
areas, when we are feeling a heavy energy, even
It's a
when I was
collective.
communicating, I'll be like, oh my God, there's like 6 or 7, and they're all like they start to collect onto those, and that's what
Sure.
they do, and they do try to manipulate the situation and and
I wonder
scare
if an
people
item
and
can act as a
terrorize
portal.
them.
If an
Mhm.
item can act as a portal.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, we do a lot with um. I mean, we had our
Just to
so we
just
talk
to get a
about
very
portals
vague
and
sense of
secrets.
how something would attach to an item, or how they choose certain items and why they choose them. Like they're intelligent beings. They're
Yeah.
just not physically here.
Well, some haunted items are. It could have been a person's favorite item. It could have been something they were very attached to.
Yeah.
Even a location. It might be a location they were attached to and they just don't want to leave. But some of these, though, like that spirit, it had an intention set. I'm going to find an object that is going to open this door. That and that was the one.
Mhm.
That was her favorite dollhouse. She was talking to the spirit through that and made her, it's like playing with her in the beginning. You know, it's her buddy. Lots of kids have invisible friends, but I'm gonna tell you right now, 90% of them aren't invisible. To you, they are. But
And also,
it's usually
there's
something
also
they're
like
tuned
something to say
into.
about the child too. The first time the child saw the spirit, like the first thing wasn't terror, obviously.
No.
Me as a child, I'd probably run to the stairs screaming. Maybe, who knows? When you're a child like that, maybe you just think it's normal. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, look at that. Who are you?
Yeah.
The innocence of a child is pretty
Yeah.
interesting compared to how we see it.
Yeah. But I think she started getting, it was starting to be more
More of a
controlling, and it
problem.
was being.
Because ultimately, I'm sure it has some kind of a goal. I'm sure it wants to, who knows?
Yeah. Well, there were some
Destroy
areas
us.
in that house where there was like, if you remember, we were hearing all kinds of things, people running through it and
Mm.
all these kinds of like
The
things.
kitchen was weird too. I
Yeah.
remember the little kitchen downstairs was weird. There was
Yes. That's one where you would hear like, we're like, what the heck is that? It sounds like somebody running. It sounded like like a herd of elephants or something. But there were areas where and again that it was a lot with the location of where it was. Water is anything near water is a conduit for
yeah,
stuff.
you know what? It wasn't an old. It was kind of a nice house
It was
though.
a really nice house. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of modern, and it wasn't like a one of these haunted mansions or anything like that.
No, it's just more secluded and more
With
you know
sort of these old trees around it. I remember it had a lot of old trees with big
yeah.
like your tree behind you. A lot of
Mhm.
big branches.
Yeah. And a
And it
lot
was
of times it has to do with the geography or the location, what's around it, what sets it up for it to be a prime,
maybe it was
place
on
that
quartz. Maybe it was built on quartz or something like that, or
yeah,
slate or
yeah.
some.
Yep, yep. Yeah, so all of that factored in, and then it decided it was gonna again, it had an attic, it had a basement. We've talked about that. Those have always been
Prime locations for
yes.
spirits to hang out in.
The energy is lower in those areas,
I wonder
heavier.
why the attic though. The height would be.
It's just because normally in an attic, it's
kind of where the
musty,
energy
old, dusty.
arises.
There's a lot of
So
old.
there's not a lot of stagnant energy.
There's a lot of
space.
yes,
It
it's
feels like
stagnant.
it
That's
feels like a
exactly it.
linear.
There's stuff up there, yeah, with a lot of
Exactly.
Things
history.
to attach to.
It's
without
exactly. It
being
is the
bothered by
stagnant
the
part.
energy.
Yep, yep. Because that's why we're always teaching for people to like, clean, feng
Sage.
shui, cleanse your energy. Keep your house.
You
You
come home
want to keep the energy
aggravated.
in your
You
house
just give
positive.
that thing energy.
Yeah, it accumulates. Thick stuff accumulates. But in these cases, our intention is to go and like, okay, we're doing this and we're going to help somebody. We don't always know what's going to come about. We don't know how strong the energy is going to be. And I remember it was so disturbing that even me, after having done,
Still, for that
this
split
work for so
second,
many years,
that
and
split second
yeah,
when something else had control of you, you were completely vulnerable and
yeah,
weak in that
yep,
moment. To get taken over by anything physically
yeah.
is going to be a little,
But see, that's the key. That's what you just said. You're weak in that moment physically. I couldn't do anything, but when I got myself together, my mental
Oh, then
ability
well
was
then all
still
this,
there.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's when
Well, yeah,
that's
but
how it
people don't,
changed
yeah,
it. Exactly
pe-
what we teach people.
You just
You know,
immediately raised that vibration to a point where he couldn't
we
handle
can
it.
do them when our head
Yeah.
get into that right place and make it happen.
It's just pure focus and
well,
Yeah.
because you're so good, so because of who you are, you're easier for them to get to because they know that you can hear them.
No.
Yes, because they know I can communicate with them.
Yeah, communicate with them. And
So they're already seeing something that we are not seeing in us. You know, the
yes,
spirit can walk by Jackie and say, "Oh, this person can hear me."
When you really like, I'm not, you know what you're doing, you know what your intention is, you learn how to do it safely. It's amazing doing
Mm.
paranormal investigation. It's just making sure, you do it. Not all of them are, like I said, this incident we're talking about, tonight it was just one we happened to come across, but it was one time in hundreds and
Mm.
hundreds of investigations, So
Something like
it's not
that.
to scare anybody off from like it's
And out of all
really
those hundreds and
interesting
hundreds of
speaking to the
investigation,
other side.
that was out of all those hundreds, though, that was the one you decided, oh, kids go.
Yeah,
It's the
but
one.
I
Normally
learned.
you don't do that because you know better,
Yeah,
but it's okay.
yeah, and I learned that, and
That's
that's
an
why I
experience.
teach it. I'm like, this is what happened to me.
You found
I
out.
got my ass kicked, and
Yeah.
you don't want to get your ass kicked. And I was lucky I had two people with me,
Yeah.
and I do this work.
What if
Because I knew what I had to do to get out of it. I
Right.
just had to get myself, and I knew what I had to do. And not everybody's going to think it's just because of the work I do. I know what I'm tuning
Well,
in.
so what would have happened if you hadn't known what to do?
Well, that's the thing. I think of if a spirit is going to do that and they already know the person can communicate with them, then it's going to be somebody who has some type of medium skills, because
Right.
it's going to be trying to talk to them. However, what happens is some people, they know they have that gift, but they're not somebody who is really, maybe they don't want that gift.
You might have ended
They
up
don't wanna
taking it
teach-
home. Yeah, you might have ended up taking home with you.
Yes. And they do hitch a ride many a time.
That's right. That was the danger.
That's why that guy knew to leave the dollhouse.
Yeah.
Because that dollhouse, he knew that was
Instinctual.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Get the thing out of here. Yeah.
we're moving far, far away. We're not telling it where we're going.
I would ask you most of it again, those little questions.
For what?
The spirit?
No, that was
Nothing
that-
personal on him, right?
I
This was
try
just
not-
the incident.
I try not to go once I know it's something that bad to delve deep enough in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Great.
yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed
Wonderful.
the story.
Good story. Yeah.
Definitely write some comments or let us know if you had any like scary experiences, or what you thought of the,
Mm.
any of your take on it.
Well, okay. Thank you guys. That was, a blast from the past, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
So to
Lots of fun.
speak.
All right. Well, everybody, if you happen to be in any area, the storm is coming. Everybody,
Yes.
lots of snow,
Let us know.
lots of sleet.
Wanna work at
Stay
it.
safe.
Yep.
So I think this will be airing the week after the storm, but then there's another one
Yeah.
coming in after
I
that.
know.
But
Yeah.
Okay.
all right,
Well,
everybody.
Okay, well,
So,
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you. This was fun.
we are among the realms.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye from Jackie.
Bye from Dana.
All right. Bye, everyone.